What's going on, everybody? It's halftime. Tucker Bagley with Shore Parks live in New Orleans. There's Zach Berman off to the buffet, I imagine. And Elliot, I'm sure, like me, you probably spent most of the day wondering how the first half could go, playing out thousands of combinations as to what could happen. I don't think I could have thought of one any better. Like Eagles lead 24-0 at half, second biggest lead in Super Bowl history at the half. At 24-0, Patrick Mahomes 6 of 14, 33 yards, 2 picks, took 3 sacks. I mean, just an all-time dominant performance from the Eagles in the first half, and really just made the Chiefs, quit. Really in that second quarter, like they don't look like a team that's lost one game all year.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the most dominating halves of football I've ever seen in my time covering the Eagles. Probably the most dominating half, considered the stage and the opponent. And I think what's crazy is not only is it 24-0, I mean, the Eagles have more yards than the Eagles have more points than the Chiefs have yards. I mean, they look like they have no hope whatsoever on the offensive side of the ball. Patrick Mahomes lost. That interception to Gene was a horrendous throw. The pass at the end there to DeAndre Hopkins, the throw he probably makes 10 out of 10 times, but he missed it there. He looks rough. The defensive line is getting to him. And the story of the half, in a lot of ways, is the defense. Let's not overlook what Jalen Hurts is doing. Jalen Hurts is unbelievable. He's been significantly outplaying Patrick Mahomes. The running game hasn't really gotten much of anything going. All year on this podcast, we have talked about what will happen if they can't run the ball. And the biggest stage and the biggest game Jalen Hurts is stepping up and absolutely crushing it.
Yeah, and Elliot, me and you, we've done the halftime all year, but big game, and someone who we know who performs well in big games, that's big game James Seltzer. We're going to bring in here to give us his thoughts on how everything went in the first half. And you can see by that smile, I mean, just unbelievable. Like, whatever you thought could happen in the first half, I don't think in your wildest dreams, James may be one of the most positive Eagles fans. Did you think this was possible? Did you think that this was something when we came on at, 9:15 or 8:15 on Sunday night that this could be what's going on?
No. I mean, I knew that it was possible they could blow them out, but, and there's still a half of football, all right? I'm not there yet, but, oh, my God, what an unbelievable half. Could not have gone better. Just a perfect half of football, especially after that first drive, that flag, we're all like, oh no, this is how it's going to be. And I mean, I'm speechless, guys. It's 24-0 at the half. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I would also say, too, that what's so crazy to me, James brings up the flag at the beginning of the game on A.J. Brown. It just felt almost right away like the Chiefs were holding on for dear life. And it looked like there was potentially going to be a time where the Eagles didn't capitalize on that. The Jalen Hurts interception, it just felt like they were potentially going to make this a game. And remember, last year they were up 10 in 2022, so they had a lead on the Chiefs in 2022. The big difference now is obviously it's almost 3 times that, or double that at 24. But there was probably only 5 or 6 minutes where it felt like this was a game. If you remove kind of the fear the Chiefs have just from what they've been, these look like 2 completely different teams out there. All week we heard, I said, that there's no shot they blow the Chiefs out. They've only done it 4 or 5 times. And it looks like that's what they're, in the process of doing. It'll be interesting to see the Chiefs come out. I mean, the second, third quarter, they get the ball. If the defense stops them there, I mean, things could get ugly really quickly. But if the Chiefs score there, all of a sudden it'll be a little tense. So I'm with James. Until the clock hits 0, I won't count it fun. But man, it looks like the Chiefs have absolutely no hope.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes being on that sideline is what you fear, right? Like the guy that we talked about all week as being the great equalizer, he's still over there, right? And we talk about, him maybe being in the conversation with Tom Brady. Tom Brady, the only quarterback in NFL history who's come back from a deficit like this in a Super Bowl. I mean, you don't want to be pessimistic. You don't want to put these thoughts in your head. But there's a point, if he wants to be compared to Tom Brady, having a comeback like this on his resume would be unbelievable. But what you've seen from the Eagles in the first half, I mean, James, I've never seen an Eagles defense play like that in a situation like this. We've seen them, beat up on bad teams like this. But to allow, 23 total yards is just incredible.
Yeah, I think considering the moment and the opponent, that is the best half of football we've ever seen an Eagles defense play. I think you could really say that, considering the stakes, considering going up against Mahomes. I mean, and look, they're forcing Mahomes into this stuff. They are making him make mistakes. They are rattling him in the pocket. That Zach Bond interception, obviously a great play by Bond, but I think the worst pass I've ever seen Patrick Mahomes throw. Like, they have Patrick Mahomes looking like someone he has never looked like before in his career. That Bucs Super Bowl game is like the last time we saw anything like this from Mahomes, and it's because they're just getting pressure. They're in his face, and guys are making amazing plays. Like, we saw the stats about this defense in domes. That is coming like to fruition in the biggest of ways. This defense looks like the best unit on the field, the best unit in the game, and they are living up to their number one defense spot. Like, it is unbelievable.
Yeah, I think the way James put that is so true. They're forcing Mahomes into these mistakes. He's not sitting in a clean pocket and making the throws. They're forcing him into it. But just since I'm going to have to go in a minute because the Super Bowl show, the defense deserves every piece of praise you've given them. Jalen Hurts has been unbelievable. I just want to hammer that home, too. No player entered this game with more pressure than Jalen had on himself, and he has been absolutely dominant. He had the one interception where it was obviously, I think he was impacted, but the throw to A.J. Brown for the touchdown, the throw to A.J. on fourth down that got called back, the throw to Jahan Dotson, like, he has significantly outplayed Patrick Mahomes. We all agreed that this could be a legacy-defining game for Jalen, or a legacy-setting game. He is looking like he is up to the part of being a legacy night for him.
Yeah, I mean, Ellie, you mentioned, and, you know, for me, like, in my lifetime, the most dominant and maybe the gold standard for Super Bowl performance is the Seahawks in Super Bowl 48, right? Like, the way they dominated that Peyton Manning offense, that historic offense, Manning threw 55 touchdowns, and it was kind of over in the first quarter. And obviously, like we said, you don't want to put the cart before the horse. You don't want to start celebrating yet. But, I mean, at this point, if things go the way that they have been going, that's where we're trending towards. We're trending towards an all-time historic performance from this Eagles offense and defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm going to have to hop off because this halftime show's about to start. But look, boys, I feel pretty good about this post-game pod. I feel like this could end up being a good one. So love you guys. Talk to you after the game and finish the job.
Yeah, thanks, Elliot. Thanks, James. Right now, obviously, with the extended halftime with Kendrick Lamar coming up, we're going to cut to Rob Ellis. We're going to cut to TK live from the WIP studios, have their takes.
Tucker,
I love you too, James.
Buddy.
I'm excited to see you in a couple hours.
I love everyone watching right now. Let's freaking finish this,
and hopefully
baby.
in an hour and a half to 2 hours, however long it takes. Obviously, things are longer in the Super Bowl. We're going to be having a victory podcast. We'll talk to all our friends from WIP. We'll be up all night. No one's going to sleep. It's going to be awesome. But for James, for Elliot, I'm Tucker. Like I said, please come back right after the game's over. Join us for the post-game pod. But stay tuned right now for Rob Ellis, TK. They're going to take you through the rest of halftime. Thank you guys for watching.
Using the latest methods, always with safety in mind. Use the top-notch professionals of IBEW Local Union 98. Go Birds.
We're talking all things Super Bowl 59, Eagles Chiefs, the midday show, Monday, 10 to 2, Sports Radio 94 WIP.
You're listening to the Piazza Auto Group halftime show on Eagles Radio.
Welcome back to the Piazza Auto Group halftime show, sponsored by Piazza Premium Automobiles with 15 locations, including Mercedes-Benz, Maserati, Alfa Romeo, BMW, Infiniti, Jaguar, Land Rover, and Porsche. Visit PiazzaPremiumAutomobiles.com. Tom Kelly and Rob Ellis from the Eagles radio studios. And Rob, what a first half that was. I think the best half of football I think I've ever seen Eagles defense play, Rob.
Tom, 2 words, absolute destruction. That was an absolute taking you out to the woodshed and putting it on you, what we saw there. I mean, the Eagles are not only dictating play, they're dominating. Patrick Mahomes looks shook. Andy Reid looks shook. Spags looks shook. I never thought I'd say those words.
Unbelievable, Rob. And you look at that defensive pressure. I mean, the Eagles, the big question in this game, and what killed them 2 years ago, they didn't get pressure with 4. And you look at this game, Vic Fangio hasn't had to do anything abnormal. I mean, they're sending 4, and they are getting to Mahomes pretty much every time. And like you said, I haven't seen Patrick Mahomes look like this since Super Bowl 55 against Tampa Bay a few years ago.
The very end there, where he has DeAndre Hopkins wide open, is a great example of it. Like, he could not have been more open. And yeah, it's psychological now, Tom. And the biggest thing I would say is don't let up. I know how this looks. I know we're all in, just kind of guarding to go into celebration mode. You got to keep hammering these guys because we know who they are.
Yeah, and they do get the ball to start the second half. And I think, Rob, we need to mention here. I mean, Nick Sirianni in the first half, I think just tremendous decision making across the board. I mean, he goes for the first down on the first drive. The ticky-tack offensive pass interference negates it. But you look at the fourth down decisions, kicks the field goal. I think that was the right move in that spot.
Get up two scores at that point.
And right before half, like you're at midfield, 4th and 3, you're up 17-0. There's a tendency to go for it there. But the way your defense is playing, punt the ball back. You end up punting it. You pin him at the 5. Zach Bond gets the pick. What a sequence.
Oh, my God. And so there's 2 other things, too, Tom. Zach Bond, who's been dominant in every game. He hasn't taken a game off, continues to dominate. That was a great interception, just laying out the way that he did. The other little concern, wasn't a big one for me, were the rookies going to look like rookies? Was Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, all of a sudden they're on the big stage, and maybe it gets to them. Not at all.
These kids are unreal. I mean, you haven't heard Quinyon Mitchell's name, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, much like the entire season, the guy's just solid over there. And Cooper DeJean, what a play. I mean, that's a play that we will remember forever. That pick 6, and I feel like that's when it really kind of snowballed a little bit on the Chiefs, and you could tell because they've been behind double digits before.
Yeah.
Feels like that play was kind of when they were like, okay, this is different.
Well, here's the other thing. If I said to you before the game, the Eagles are going to be up 24-0 at the half, and Saquon Barkley's going to have 12 rushes for 31 yards, which is 2.6 yards per carry, you would have said you're out of your mind.
And Jalen Hurts has a turnover.
Right, and Jalen has a bad pick. Now, he's been really good other than that. This is not me knocking Jalen, but that was the one exception to his half. But yeah, if those 2 things were in play, I might say the score's flipped, 24-0 Chiefs. But listen to this, Tom. Chiefs 20 plays from scrimmage, 23 yards and 2 turnovers. 13-1 are the first downs. 179-23 total yards. This is, absolute sheer domination.
Yeah, this has been destruction. And I think you look ahead now, Rob, like this first possession is important. Because if you can get a stop, you get off the field again, really keep control of this game because we know how scary they can be. And 24-0, we're obviously feeling great. The Eagles are in a great spot. But if you can really drive the stake through their heart, if you get a stop here, you go down and score, you can put this thing away.
I agree. Just think about it psychologically. The Chiefs come out and they don't score, or it's a 3 and out, or whatever. It's like, wow, this really is what this is. Wasn't just some first half nightmare that we had. We're not the Chiefs. But they go down the field, they say to themselves, okay, we know who we are. We know who we have here. It's Patrick Mahomes, it's Andy Reid, it's this crew. We're going to be fine. We've dug a little bit deeper hole than we usually do, but we're going to be fine. This is a very big first series here. I agree.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable just when you look at this Eagles defensive line, because that was such a question mark for a lot of this season. And you look at how these guys have come on. Josh Sweat's been incredible tonight. What a first half for him. Nolan Smith getting pressure consistently. LIX Hunt, another sack. Milton Williams, a big sack. I mean, this defensive line, and this is what really hurt this defense 2 years ago. They're getting pressure with 4, and that is how you beat this Chiefs offense. That is the formula. That's what the Bucs were able to do 4 years ago. That's what the Eagles are doing tonight.
The other thing I'm going to be interested to see, and granted, they haven't had many plays, period. So this is, keep that in mind. But they've only run the ball 3 times, Tom. I wonder if he just looks at it and says, you know what, right now, Patrick, we got to just take some of the heat off of him right now. You might get a healthy dose of Pacheco here. I know you got to be quick with the clock because you're down 24-0. But if I'm Andy and I'm Nagy, I'm trying to change something up here. So just keep your eye out for that. That could be something we see.
Yeah, especially on this first drive, like you said. I mean, because they'll look at it as 24-0, plenty of time.
Yeah.
You chip away, still could be a 3-possession game if you get 2-point conversions. So yeah, I think this is critical early in the half. Get a stop, get off the field, and just keep pouring it on. Like you said, offensively, Rob, Jalen had the interception. Other than that, though, I think he's been really solid in the passing game tonight.
Me too. The back shoulder fade to AJ was really nice. The play that was, as you mentioned, called back on that, borderline offensive pass interference call was he dropped that right in the bucket. And then the throw to AJ for the touchdown is a really nice shot. It's a great play design. Kellen Moore's on one too. Yeah. Kellen Moore's doing a really good job so far. If anybody was worried about any kind of distraction, I wasn't. But if you were, he hadn't seen any of that in the first half.
And the moment I felt like Kellen Moore was in his bag was when he lined up the 3 offensive linemen. He lines up tackles in wide receiver formation. It's like, okay, he's feeling himself a little bit.
He is, and that's great. Look, I want him being confident. Here's the other thing I want to see, Tom. I mentioned I think the Chiefs may try and switch it up and run a little bit. I don't want to let up with Barkley. I know it's only 12 for 31, and it's a little more than 2.5 yards per carry, but we've seen it all year. He gets better as the game goes along, and the offensive line starts to wear down the opponent defensive line. So keep pounding him. I don't care if you're getting 2-3 yards a pop. He'll eventually burst one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that's been critical, and he hasn't rushed for many yards, but when Jalen has run, he's run effectively.
He has.
And I think that's really important for this offense, and that's something that when you can add that element along with the passing game, along with Saquon, it's just really hard to defend.
Agreed. And the other thing is you survived a stretch there without Becton, which, you're a little nervous there, but he came back late, which is good. Saquon got about a 9-yard run, I think, before he set the record there right at the very end, which is a good sign too for him, just psychologically to kind of get going here a little bit. But the biggest thing is I'm not telling you got to get crazy with fake punts or anything, but don't get conservative, because even though this looks really good, it's never over with these guys, okay? So you have to keep that same approach where you're just going for it, a la Doug Peterson against the Patriots.
Right, and hey, I mean, we've seen before, teams like the Chiefs, teams like the Patriots in the past, you can't let your foot off the gas.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it in previous Super Bowls against the Patriots. You can't let your foot off the gas here. You got to come out, you got to finish the job, because I don't think they are going to go away. You're going to have to kill them.
Well, the other thing is, too, and again, I didn't think this was going to be the case. Jalen usually steps up in these moments. He's fine. There's no worries as far as he goes. I don't think the spotlight was too big for anybody. Tom, I thought this before the game, and I thought it after. Look, I never thought I'd see 24-0 at the half. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I had the Eagles winning the game in a close one, and one of the biggest things for me was they are absolutely leaning into the pain of that loss 2 years ago. And for the Chiefs, it would just be cool if you get a three-peat. There's a lot more riding from an Eagles perspective than there is a Chiefs perspective.
And hey, that was a lot of the reporting down there this week from guys who were around the Eagles players, is there was a confidence as if they knew they were the better team. And hey, it's only halfway through, but they look like the clearly superior team right now. And I do think it's interesting when you look at the Chiefs, because they haven't played good offenses recently aside from the Bills. You look at their schedule, 2 against the Texans, game against the Browns, a game against the Steelers. This is the first time in a while, with the exception of that game a couple weeks ago, that they're facing a legitimate offense.
I guarantee you part of what's going on right now as we speak in the locker room at the half is, hey, guys, you remember 2 years ago what the score was? And how did it end up? Don't let up. Look, Chiefs can come back in this game, it would be awful, but just don't get conservative. Don't think you got this thing. Don't start sniffing yourself. And I don't think they will, but I guarantee you that is what Nick is hammering home.
Oh, I would love to hear.
Oh, he's out of his mind right now. He might be shirtless right now, Tom.
Yeah. Little Rob Ellis Delco action?
We might.
Are you serious?
Tom, they win this thing. I might do post-game shirtless tonight. No, we don't need to do that to the people.
Well, there you go.
Let's not get crazy.
Well, we might need it, right?
Right.
We might need you to do that.
Maybe.
Halftime show, Piazza Premium Automobiles with 15 locations, including Mercedes-Benz, Maserati, Alfa Romeo, BMW, Infiniti, Jaguar, Land Rover, and Porsche. Visit PiazzaPremiumAutomobiles.com. Rob, one key to the second half.
Biggest key for me is from an offensive perspective, stay with the run. Stay with the run. Eventually, they're going to give in. They're not going to want to keep getting hammered by Saquon in the offensive line. I expect him to break one of at least 30-plus yards, Tom. So keep pounding Saquon.
Yeah.
And that keeps Mahomes off the field, too.
Exactly. And for me, keep getting after Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Pressure with 4, get pressure on the quarterback, and let's bring a Super Bowl home. 30 minutes left to go. Eagles leading the Chiefs 24-0. When we get back, Merrill and Mike will be back with the second half from New Orleans. This is the Eagles Radio Network, presented by PNC Bank. Brilliant.